Welcome back. Welcome back once again. This is Rod Powell, and you are listening to or watching the You Should Get a License podcast edition, your number one source for information, education, and inspiration on the most underrated career opportunity in business today. That is a career in the insurance and or financial services industry. Today, we have a great friend of mine, one of my brothers in this business, a true professional, one of the smartest people that I know in this industry. He's a 15-year veteran, specialist in benefits and employee strategic planning, whether it be self-funding, nonprofit sectors, government sectors. He's also a great family man, very involved in the community, sits on boards for Big Brother, Big Sister, the Boys and Girls Club, NIA, DC as well, and just a phenomenal professional and person, Mr. Adam Woodford. Adam, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. Thank you so much for that intro. As a person who is a fan of yours, and as a person, and as a friend, and as a business person and entrepreneur, I gotta say that was one heck of an intro, and I appreciate that. Magnified and reciprocated. You are an incredible motivation. I really love your show. I couldn't wait to be on it, and I applaud somehow my unborn baby for holding off this weekend from coming into the world so we could be on this episode together. But thank you. I appreciate the welcome. Excited to be here. Excited to talk with you.
Hey, thank you, man. And as you mentioned, thanks for carving out a little bit of time to talk and share your story, because I think it's an important one that people need to hear. I went right off just introducing the benefit space. Very rarely, once again, even meeting you for the first time, we met through Ngozi Anaji, who is like the ultimate plug for everyone to get to know each other.
Sure.
Seeing that you were in employee benefits and coming from that background myself, I'm just like, wow, anytime,
Right.
see somebody kind of in that lane in the industry. But, for this platform, we're speaking to people about the different market segmentations, the different specializations that, individuals can have. I wanted to just kind of start off and maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your area of focus, what you do actually as a benefits broker and producer, and kind of where your focus is on your professional day-to-day.
Absolutely. Thank you. I started 15 years ago, to your point, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as a career, what I thought was going to be a lifelong career in an insurance carrier sales rep position. And I did my initial training there. I got introduced to one of the sales reps out in the field in Philadelphia when I was taking two of my mentees to a job fair. They were younger. They didn't really understand how to work a room in terms of getting acclimated to what opportunities were there and what to say and what to bring, et cetera. So, I went there with the intent to kind of show my mentees how to get, a job offer or get familiar with certain industries, and ended up meeting a gentleman who later I went to his office, gave my resume, and months later I was, in Minneapolis training and specializing in employee benefits, an industry I'd never heard of, really. I know that my parents are familiar with the industry. I know my father had been an insurance representative for some time, and recently actually had his own practice and sold it in PA, but I never knew a group insurance rep was a job that I could get into, or how broad the insurance ecosystem, as I like to say, or insurance industry, financial services industry was, and how many opportunities were available. So I started off focusing my efforts on the employee benefits side with a focus on the self-funded, alternative funded markets. And, we of course all end up specializing or being, subject matter experts in certain things. And I did all of the above, accident and individual to group, and, disability insurance. Life insurance, of course, is always top of mind, but the medical side, the healthcare side is where I've really focused my efforts in development from a career standpoint. So that was my start, and I'm focused now on the sectors that you mentioned: government contractors, nonprofits, businesses that are just starting and don't know where to go to get a benefit plan for their employees as a recruitment and retention strategy. So as you know, as a boutique insurance agency owner, there is so much to the roles that we have in this industry, and it seems like there is a limitless amount of information to obtain, which again is one of the more interesting parts of this industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do I get more time? If you're a business owner, that's the question that you're asking yourself. How can you manage the business, generate the revenue, do your administrative tasks, run your social media, run your website, manage your calendar, book your appointments, generate your leads, and continue to be the face of your brand? You need to hire a virtual assistant. In fact, you need Better Business virtual assistants, because you need someone who can help you with the social media, the website, the administrative tasks, managing the calendar, making those calls, setting those appointments, making sure that your business is running smoothly so that you can do best, and that's be the face of your brand and focus on those revenue generating opportunities and activities. How do I know? Because this video that you're watching right now was actually made by a virtual assistant. So if you want to take your business to a 10x growth of productivity so that you can enhance your efficiency, schedule a time by clicking the link below, and you can talk to a high quality, high efficiency virtual assistant that can help you get to where you want to go. Peace.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that getting into the space from the benefit side, you had never even heard of that, didn't even think that was actually a thing. And I was really excited for this conversation, because when people think of, like, a producer is a sales role, and it's a consultative, sales position, but it's an executive level, sales position as well. And when people think of sales roles in insurance or financial services, they think almost exclusively about home and auto sales or life insurance sales, not necessarily group benefits and, really constructing these plans and working, hand in hand, with decision makers and businesses to protect their employees as well as their bottom line. I want to talk about how you kind of found your way, not just to that space, but just understanding that, hey, look, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to ask you, before we even go down that road, what is it? You're kind of like, you're very rare, in your field. What is it like, to be a benefits producer in your market segment versus just the regular sales? And I'll even kind of broaden the question to say, what would you say are the main differences in that experience, in those experiences?
That's a really good question, and it is layered, so there's a lot to unpack. But I think I'll start by saying the fact that there is a never-ending learning curve, regardless of how many years you spent in this insurance industry, what role. That is a blanket truth that I think applies to everyone within this industry and ecosystem, and that can be, from underwriters or account executives and managers to actuarial folks in my position, your position as owners, or as a group rep, as they say. We are rare. We do have to specialize in certain things to gain that depth of knowledge that you need to bring to employer groups to protect their assets. And the reason that I think I am excited about the opportunity is because insurance touches everything, right? It is everywhere. Every business, every person requires some level of insurance, right? Unless you're in a state that doesn't require you to get car insurance, you're going to have to acquire that in order to operate that motor vehicle. And I think that when I started, when I got exposed to how broad this industry is and where I could go, I was overwhelmed. And I kind of just fell into it like most people, discovered this industry in itself, I kind of fell into where I was really good off the bat, which was, the medical insurance side. And I discovered, hey, not only am I good at this, there's a position in corporate America that I'm trying to. While I was in grad school, I was actually kind of weighing my options as to whether to continue grad school as a grad assistant or to pursue this unknown opportunity I had no idea about. And of course, we all know the statistic around assets in this country, right? World assets, 75% plus of all of the world's assets are in United States insurance companies. And I found that out very early. I didn't realize how substantial
that was. Say that again. Hold on. Say that again, Anna. You said 75%. That's statistic right there. We're gonna have to highlight that. Say that again.
And fact check me on this, because I want people to look this up. 75% or around that number represents the amount of global assets that are in the United States insurance companies. United States insurance companies have more assets than all of the global banks combined.
Yes, it would make sense. It just makes sense. Yeah. I mean, insurance companies are financial institutions, and banks go to the insurance companies.
Exactly. Banks have insurance advisory arms. They purchase. They have premium finance companies that they purchase, or they finance themselves. So learning that, getting exposed to that, and at the same time, in early 2008, I knew nothing of the pending recession that was going to surface at the end of that year. And one of the unique experiences that I look at now and I can laugh, but in Minneapolis, I'm in my apartment with my other cohorts. We all got the same letter that we might be on that list of 15,000 employees that might be let go that month. And this is week 2 in the training program. So I also learned that not only is this industry potentially very lucrative for me, as I'm getting exposed to all these new things, all these new opportunities, all these new areas that I could become a subject matter expert in and find myself in terms of my professional career development. But I also learned that because the industry is so tightly involved and tightly bound to the financial services industry and to our economy, it's also very volatile. And you have to, I don't want to say you have to, you can be a general agent, and you can be a mile wide and an inch deep on everything and collaborate with folks so that you have access to those subject matter expertise. And we'll probably get into mentorship in a minute, but I think that my mentor told me while I was kind of looking at this letter and considering my future and now feeling very, very unsure about this career path that I just chose, calm down, take a deep breath, because that producer license, that is the key to a limitless future of opportunities within this sector, regardless of what the economy does. And that individual producer license, once you get it, I oftentimes just look at it because it's something that I worked very hard for. I passed those exams. I have that, and no matter what, that is a revenue generating document that has my name on it, no matter what part of the country or even world that I go into or move to or visit. I have an opportunity to produce revenue in that territory, in that area. So it to me, in that moment, I realized that I knew that regardless if this was going to be my main career path or if it was going to be something that I did as a side hustle for supplemental income, at that moment during the Great Recession, if you will, I realized that I had made the proper choice in pursuing this career path, because there is going to be some lane that you can get in and stay in for decades and be very successful. And in addition, the lifestyle of autonomy and networking, I think just having the people like yourself around me, meeting new people in the industry and learning new things about areas you're not an expert in really opens the door to, again, more revenue producing opportunities. And so I have a friend that says we're all in sales, really. So it makes sense because when you negotiate, you're selling either yourself or something. And so that really just monetizes something that's a necessary factor in your life, be it insurance or a financial services product. So it's a very tumultuous time now because we're seeing a lot of political unrest, just socially. However, what is a consistent factor is that there are still revenue generating opportunities within the insurance industry, the financial services industry.
Look, I think, now is actually one of the best times for individuals to look at joining this industry. At the time that we're recording this interview, I just saw an article, about some layoffs that Amazon was having, 10,000 employees, coming down the pike. Yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself, for all of these individuals, there is an opportunity in the highest paid industry in this country that is underpopulated with not just, diversity, but just people in general, talent in general, right, that is an open, that's open. That's an right, open door that has a very low barrier to entry. One of the things that you mentioned there that I want to pull out, you said having that producer license was the key to going anywhere you wanted and knowing that you could generate revenue. But you are a highly educated gentleman as well. You yes, have your degree, you got your master's degree, but you didn't say having the master's allows me to go anywhere to generate revenue. And you said having the producer license allows you to go anywhere. Now, I think that that's something that, folks should pay attention to. This is saying that, look, you do need to enhance your education as much as possible. But at the same time, that producer license, did you have to get the master's before you could become a producer?
No, not at all. They didn't care that I was in graduate school at the time, the company did support my pursuit to complete my master's degree, which I'm grateful for because, that was always a goal, was to pursue as much education as possible. And I really feel good about the experiences. I feel great about the experiences I had in undergraduate and in grad school. And if I would have done it all again, I don't regret anything, but if I would have had the information I have today about the significance of that license and the fact that I could have started that journey at age 18 and started building wealth then while going through college and possibly even paying my way through the classes that weren't covered by my scholarship. You know what I mean? Like that college was, I think when I went to college, when we went to undergrad and grad school, that's when you saw a significant increase in tuition. I mean, my school increased by 120% by the time I graduated. My graduate school, I ended up having to pay in cash per class because I basically suspended my degree track in order to focus on my career in the insurance industry, because it just made more sense to focus on the things that are producing revenue. And at the end of the day, it's not all about that. To your point, I do value my education. I pride myself in having the skills and the knowledge and the privileges that my degrees afford me. But I didn't need them to get to where I'm at today. Do they give me some additional business acumen, skills, some tools? Of course they do, sure. However, to your point, completely unrequired to get an insurance license and do exactly what we are doing today. So, and it really is so you own your degree. Your degree doesn't guarantee that you're going to produce a living, right? There are certain aspects of my degree that are a moot point now because of technology and modern communication modalities and modern marketing presence. Social media, when I graduated, was in its infancy. And now if you don't do marketing online, which is not something that we focused on when I was in college in the early 2000s, I mean, it's not insignificant, it's not irrelevant completely, but that insurance license is going to be relevant 100% of the time. So you made a great point. I think that if more folks who are looking at the price of college or any other postgraduate education to enhance their revenue potential should seriously consider pursuing getting a license, because you are almost guaranteed that even if you think you're not good at sales, because you will become great at sales once you get that license, you just have to. If you pursue a license, you're not 100% guaranteed, but you are way better off in terms of getting an understanding of how to monetize that piece of paper that costs you a few $100s in terms of the pre-licensing materials and taking the exam versus tens of thousands of dollars in a college degree. So I think that is not as widely known, especially in communities where wealth has been either suppressed in the African-American community, which is why I pride myself of being a part of NAIA, because that is the impetus of the organization, is to attract the Black community to this career opportunity. And I think that we don't promote it as much as we should. I know I don't, because this is something that I'm selling to everybody, right? I'm selling to all of the employer groups that I have as clients, all the individuals that ask me, but I never really spend time saying, hey, listen, here's a link. Go check this out. This is what the pre-licensing process is like. This is how much I can tell you I produced with this license. I can't tie a direct number of revenue to any of my degrees. So you make a great point, and I feel that the longer we stay in this career, you and I and folks like us, the more folks like us will be able to see that this opportunity is very legitimate. It's very lucrative, but it also gives you the autonomy to live freely and still make more than a better income, more than a better living. I
would say more than many people with.
Yeah.
I
don't know the numbers behind it. Now I'm going to look it up. So
right. So, but because don't for those who are listening, don't get it twisted. I mean, someone in Adam's position is, hanging with the doctor or a lawyer quite comfortably, so not a family practitioner. I'm talking about a surgeon, So,
I work very hard, just like Rod, for all
right.
You can see all the cool stuff you have that you bought with your insurance money in the background. But
everything I own, I attribute to this industry.
I was listening to I saw a segment of your show, and it was a while, it was like 30, 40 days ago. So I don't remember who was speaking. But they basically said the same thing. They attribute everything that they know in their professional life and that they've earned to pursuing and earning their insurance license or licenses. And so I have a property and casualty license as well. But again, that was my personal educational or professional development journey. I wanted to gain a better insight to being a better business consultant. I know that when I go talk to my clients, they have concerns on the employee benefit side, of course. But if I, leave them hanging on a priority around commercial insurance, then I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice and I'm not being as valuable as I could be. And it doesn't take 4 years to get your insurance license. And in a lot of cases, if you focus and you dedicate, 40 hours of pre-licensing studying, you have a really good shot at passing the exam. And immediately after that, I would recommend getting a mentor, shadowing, and learning as much as you can to then monetize that. But the investment to income ratio, to your point, in this industry is highly unknown, underrated if it is known. People associate insurance salespeople with, I'm not going to say I'm not going to name any companies, but they associate the insurance salesperson with a negative connotation. And I think it shows like this, podcast and your presence on social media is changing that for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And even just to add one more piece to that, two candidates go for a position, even if it's a non-sales capacity. Let's say, it's an underwriter, because, companies, are looking for talent in every category, whether it be underwriters, actuaries, IT specialists, marketing specialists, whatever the case may be. If you have two professionals who are up for that position, both of them have degrees, but one of them has a license.
Right.
Which one gets the closer look?
Well, we know it's going to be the person with the license, and more importantly, the experience. And so, again, going back to my statement earlier, if I knew what I know now, I think most of us would say this at 18. I'm getting my license. Our great mentor Ngozi, the professor, she pushed her son to get a license at 18, and that was remarkable. I'd love to see it, and she's really focused on getting folks in our community and everywhere really started young on that pursuit, because that scenario plays itself out way more than people realize. The qualifications, let's say 4-year degree, desired but not required. The license is required to even apply to a lot of these jobs in this industry. So it is very important to get educated, and it is very important to have access to that education. And I think a 4-year degree is less accessible, is significantly less accessible, especially in underserved and underrepresented communities like the Black community. But across the board, a higher education degree is a lot less accessible and obtainable than an insurance license. But an insurance license for the everyday person is exceptionally more important than your individual degree, because you inject yourself as a community resource to mitigate risk for people that they didn't even know was a risk for themselves. With that knowledge base, that's exactly, if you take action to earning your license, that's exactly who you become in your neighborhood, community, and in this country. If you want to have an awesome show like Get It, You Should Get a License, you can do that. And you are that important. Not that you're not important for going to college and graduating. I applaud everybody for doing that. But if we're comparing the two experiences, and because I have both, I can speak to the fact that my license, from an expense to revenue standpoint, there's no comparison. So
absolutely. Hey, thank you, man. Look. I want to go back. You had mentioned 18, but I want to go a little bit further back. So if I'm talking to, a young 9-10-year-old Adam Woodford, what are you dreaming of growing up to be in at that point?
At that point, I was actually pretty darn good at track and field, and I was only thinking about the very small percent chance that I had to make it to the Olympics or the Diamond League and be on TV and all those things. So, I mean, that's where I was at 19. That was to be expected, and I did earn my scholarships in track and field. I worked my butt off because paying for college at that point in time was not financially feasible. And I had an incredible support system in my parents that provided everything that I needed to have to go to undergrad. So that was a real blessing. But I feel like at 19, I was just I was worried about going to class and looking the best and kicking butt on the track and field squad and, winning championships and all that good stuff. I really didn't think about the adult world because I was in a dream world, which is college. And although I was career focused, I was like, oh, okay, there's nothing right now that I need to be or would want to do, because I just didn't have exposure to the industry. If I'd known it, I would have absolutely pursued it, because that was an opportunity that I then went back to my colleagues, a lot of them, and sold them individual policies or advised them on insurance related issues. You know how it is when you have friends that call you out of the blue and they need something, and you're happy to give that advice because you know the difference between my 19-year-old brain without my license and the experience in this industry versus now. And so I was just focused at that point in time in my life at being in college and enjoying myself. And I probably would have enjoyed myself a lot more had I had my license and been able to earn some money and not eat at Taco Bell and hometown pizza across the street every night. So it's that's a true story. I mean, I'm not too dissimilar to most folks in terms of their college experience, because now if I were to go into, if I was 19 now, I probably would be a little closer to signing that paper after taking the ASVAB for the military. So, just stepping back at 19, at 18, at 17.
Right. So I'll get some of those.
I was like, how am I going to pay for college? That's where I was. So at 19, absolutely. I'm like, I have the scholarship. I'm in a good financial position. And really all I was doing was accruing debt. The things that the scholarship and my parents didn't cover, of course, that's student loan debt, right? And I'm happy to say that I'm nearly done. I'm also happy to say that it is imminent. I think that people are going to start to transition instead of aspiring to go to the 4-year college right out of high school. Perhaps they're going to build the wealth that they need to and work while they're going to school. And I think I saw a study a couple of weeks ago that indicated that enrollment across the board, and I'm taking out the COVID years, of course, but enrollment in 4-year institutions has seen a decline in the first time to that extent in a while. And cost is obviously the number one factor. Whereas, had I had this information, to your point, to your question, when I was 19, I would probably be looking at upwards of, 6 figures by the time I would have been graduated in high school. The first 18 months is what it took me to get to over $1.5 million in production and over 6 figures in revenue. And I'm not bragging, I'm just trying to promote the legitimacy of obtaining the license and working in the industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It ain't bragging if it's true.
Yeah, it's right. It's just facts.
Right. It's just a fact.
You said it at the top of the show. It's the highest paid industry in the country. And I don't know if it's globally the same story, but I wouldn't be surprised if I heard that, if I've read that statistic somewhere, but it is for a reason. Going back to the statistic that most of the world's assets are in United States insurance companies. And so if you're in that industry, that is the money, that is the capital that you're going to have an opportunity to have a small portion of. And that small portion is obviously substantially larger than most 9-to-5 jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So at 19, you're in school, you're on the track scholarship, and you're thinking about what your career is going to be. Now, your father was in the industry, right?
Yes, he was.
Your mother was an entrepreneur, interior designer, and she laid out mansions. So I know that you got some things from both of them. You have her. She's very creative. He's in this space where you have to be creative, but oftentimes it's more analytical as well.
Yeah.
Did either one of those paths appeal to you coming up?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. My parents are some of the hardest working people on earth. They are my heroes and my real inspiration. And I never had a problem with work ethic. Never had a problem with being creative. Never have had a problem adapting. I just looked at my parents. And I got my entrepreneurial spirit from both of them, but really my mother, she ran a daycare for over 40 years. I was one of her kids in the daycare, so all the neighborhood kids got to come to my house and hang out with my mom and me. And at night she would moonlight. And she is an excellent interior designer, but she actually used to build the blueprints in the 90s. I know this sounds weird because it's not a computer, but they had this insanely large printer that architects and residential designers like my mother, she would actually put the designs together for the entire house and roll them up, put them in the plastic architect tube, hand them to the foreman at the work site. And we actually when I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and she designed that house that we lived in. So we moved from a place called Crown Hill in South Bend over to West Gatehouse Drive, and it's an insanely beautiful house that every day I knew that this is the house my mom started to draw on a piece of paper. And every quilt in my house is, every tapestry really in my house is made by my mother by hand. Like every single thing, including her very first quilt, because now she's into quilting, which is, and I just don't see her stopping reinventing herself. And my father would work insane hours in sales. So I got my sales acumen from my father. Like I would just listen to his conversations in his office at the house and kind of pick up on the skills and the tools. And I still deploy some of those today. I mean, of course, sales back then to now has evolved, but the core principles that he utilized in his jobs, I mean, I use that today. And I ask him what he's doing, you know, what's his next move, because he doesn't plan on retiring, because this industry is fun. And when he sold his, he had a State Farm agency up in PA, he sold it because, you know, he wanted to move on to the next thing, but within this industry, it gives him the freedom and the joy, and it's still, again, because he's licensed and because he maintains his licenses, you know, he's making the money, making substantially more money than a pension or a 401k payout, and again, he's enjoying it. But yes, I all of my work ethic and all of my business skills and acumen and creativity and entrepreneurial spirit, that comes from my parents, hands down. They're excellent, and they still treat me as if I'm that 19-year-old kid in college, and they know about some of the cases that, you know, even you and I talk about. But you know, we have a really good connection on that, because without them, I really don't know if I would have been that aware to look for a position in the insurance industry. And the reason it wasn't pressed on me is because my parents never pressed me to go into anything in particular. It's just so happened that I ended up in an industry that my father spent years in, and was really good at it too. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's a great story. I think that's to that point. I think that's something that I'm not going to push my sons into. But I am going to tell them all of the things that are possible at a very young age, that had I had that information at 19, at 18, I would have absolutely pursued this, even if it didn't pan out to me spending my career in this industry. I'm still going to have to buy insurance at some point. I'm still going to have to buy a house one day, or rent an apartment, get a car. All of that involves risk mitigation. A risk mitigation strategy personally, and if you're dealing with B2B, you're going to have to think at a holistic and broader level. So I'm going to try my best not to push them into the insurance industry, because I want them to have that freedom and that choice, like my parents gave me. But at the same time, I'm definitely going to just leave, like, you know, articles of how much money, you know,
right.
She's like, hey, you want to read a bedtime story, son? Come sit on Daddy's lap here. Get your little brother in here, and we'll just read about the insurance industry, and we'll talk about the millions of dollars that I sold this one year. Okay.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But honestly, I keep on going back to my parents, because I would not have even thought to look for an opportunity like that. And when you get involved in the industry, you get acclimated with what's necessary to get licensed, but to be, more importantly, to be successful in the industry itself. You got to have a support person. So I can pick up the phone anytime and talk to my dad about the insurance industry, because he has a wealth of knowledge that only comes with that experience. I can talk to my mom about what I should do with a particular business, with a particular, you know, very, very specific issue, because she's that detail oriented. And so I feel like that's my son. Hey, buddy. That's I feel like that is one of the things that I will never take for granted, is having that experience and understanding that without my parents as that motivational foundation, I would never be where I'm at today. So
absolutely, absolutely. He's trying to get to daddy. Hey, man.
say hi to Mr. Rod. How are you? We're recording. Can you go and see your mama real quick? I'll be down, okay? All right, I love you.
Awesome, man.
You're talking about insurance. You're gonna be a great agent one day.
See, it's already starting. It's
already nice. Well, timing was perfect, so
he's gonna grow. He's gonna be like, I remember that time you were doing the interview. Yeah, I was talking about insurance. Come on, let's get into it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so speaking of just kind of setting the tone, there's a few places that I wanted to go. It was a great segue to have your son come and join us for a moment. But how did you actually enter the business? Like, I know you took the job, but how did you find it? Like, how did you find your way into the space?
So literally that job fair that I took my mentees to, I knew of the companies, I knew of the licensing process to an extent, but I fell into it. I was in grad school, not even thinking about a career, because in my mind, I need the degrees to then pursue a career in this industry. And then after you get into the space, the company, or you start out on your own, which is very rare, folks get licensed and they establish their own agency as a broker producer. I feel like most people get introduced to an insurance company and then they get introduced to the process as to how to become a licensed professional. I think that a lot of people don't realize that you don't have to enter the industry that way. I think it's an easier, more accessible way because, again, you know who MetLife is. They have a sales force. You know who Aflac is. They have a sales force. You know who Voya, and you know who, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna. You know all these companies because they have commercials. And so, if you are curious enough, you'll stumble upon it as well. And that was my personal experience. I think most folks now, as universities, to the point of going to college, you can now go for insurance and risk management. That was not a major when I was in college. So I think they're, at the foundational level of education, and even higher ed, folks are starting to put more life skills education within the curriculum. I know that there are several charter schools out in the DMV where I live that have financial management skills as a part of their curriculum for K through 12 kids. I think that is so powerful, right? And so I think that now kids are getting into the industry, and I mean kids are getting exposed to this industry, or introduced, I should say, to this industry from a number of different modalities and platforms. They're on there. I know my son knows the passcode, the 6-digit passcodes to both my wife and I's, phones. And so he'll see a commercial for an insurance company and he'll recognize that. And I think that's insanely powerful, and it's not exposed. It's not the same level of marketing, if you will, or exposure, if you will, to this industry that our kids' generation is having. But I do think the easiest way to get introduced is to either, if you have a personal agent, talk to them about their process, or if you have a question about, what can I do differently in my coverage, and you start to pay attention to the policies that you already have. And there's no age limitation. I know people who just got their license at 50-something years old, Absolutely. And it's the best career decision they've ever made. Absolutely. So I don't want to put an age limitation on it. However, I think when people are looking to start a career, how in my generation, in my experience, most people just fall into it like I did. I went to graduate school for professional and strategic communication, which absolutely has application to an extent. But it's something that was relevant for a career opportunity that would have grown and evolved with me when I got it. If I graduated on time in the 2-year program, that ended up being a few more years, as long as I was having some success in the insurance industry. But yeah, I think that's a layered question, because our generation, you and me, probably just fell into it, or we heard about this opportunity, then we went and did research. There are certain programs, certain affinity groups, again, like NAYA, like SOBA, like a lot of the affinity groups that we know, and we knew them in my experience, I knew about them. I found out about them after I got introduced to this industry. I didn't know what a group insurance rep was. And then once I did, all these other doors of information, all these different access points of information and experiences started opening up. And so now the people that are in my network, they know about it because I'm going to talk to them about it if they ask. And one of the critical remarks I would give to myself is I need to be more proactive in that approach, because there are bad experiences too, that I would caution that I experienced, right? Like there was some that you can't really help, like getting hired by a company that's going to divest its entire American operation. And I got that letter. That's a bad experience, but it also was an opportunity for me to grow and then take that experience and say, hey, listen, what they don't tell you is that you're an individual producer. And regardless if you get fired or not, or laid off or not, you still have that license and it's yours. It belongs to you. You own it. And that's the first step in creating wealth and developing an equity strategy for your own personal financial goals, so that you don't have to worry about providing for yourself and your family. And I think that's an underrated stressor, especially in a country that is built solely on capitalism, and the way that we do business and the way that we operate when we're not at work. It's still a capitalistic approach. So it's behoove of you to have a strategy of developing wealth and mitigating risk. And this is one of the, hands down, I can say it 1,000 times, is one of the best career opportunities in the world to pursue and to obtain your license. But I mean, there's a whole host of ways of finding out about this industry. And I think social media has to be on the top of the list of people finding out about how you get your license, what pre-licensing processes are like, what different licenses I want to pursue, what different subject matter expertise I want to pursue, or what areas I want to focus in: underwriting, service, production or sales, agency ownership, being a GA, which is something that effectively on the real estate side that I do, I'm a referral agent only, because that touches the insurance industry. A lot of my real estate clients and a lot of my realtors look to me to give home insurance or homeowners insurance, personal property insurance, umbrella policies. All of that comes from having my licenses in the insurance industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think with I think with that, just finding your way into it, as you mentioned, we say we kind of stumbled into it, or it found us, we didn't found it. I mean, most times people aren't really looking for it, right? But once you do find it, and I did mention in the introduction that you're a real estate investor and broker as well. So that's another element, just another element, to Adam's just prolific business prowess. But let's talk about mentorship. Like, what did that mean to you, kind of early in your career, and where does it play even now that you have some experience?
Man, I would not be anywhere close to where I am at today without my mentorships. I mean, my parents aside, they will always be present of mine as the core mentors, because they are my parents, right? And they are really, really good at giving me all the advice that I need, right? In practicality, they're not going to work for the same companies and have the same experiences that I will personally experience doing this job, working in this industry. So mentorship was one of the first pieces of advice my dad gave to me when I was entering in this industry, is like, shadow somebody who knows what they're talking about, get a mentor. And I did exactly that. When I started at ING Employee Benefits, the president at the time was Ivan Gilreath. I'll never forget that. Like, he didn't have to, but he was just like, okay, I can see you really embracing this industry and flourishing. And thanks to him and a number of other mentors along the way, and currently now, I flourished, but he also said, we see a lot of sales folks, a lot of people in this industry just, flunk out, for lack of a better term, or get burnt out from the rigors of this industry, because it is hard work. But I don't want to say it's hard work, it's challenging work. And challenge.
It's not hard, but you have to work hard at it.
You have to work hard at the challenge of being in this industry, and hopefully you'll grow to a point where you and I are at, where we just look forward to. I don't look forward to cold calling. I was about to lie to you. I don't really like the aspect of anything, because mentorship is effectively building relationships. It's the networking aspect with a purpose. And I think that mentorship, again, obtaining a core of mentors, and I believe in having multiple mentors for their specific purpose, right? Because you have to understand that you're not, number one, you're not going to be the first, last, and the only mentee that they have. And the goal is to learn what you will learn from your mentorship, apply it to your career, be successful, share it with someone else that was in your position when you started at ABC company, or you ventured out and got your license. It is so vital that you identify who you would like to mentor you, and that'll be the first and most important sale of your career in the industry, in the story.
I think that's one of the reasons to actually get licensed in the first place, is to find mentors, right? Because if you talk about, people who may not have anyone in their close proximity that they can look upon and says, hey, this person has done what I want to do, or gone where I wanted to go. I think it's very common, right? If you find a company and you decided you'll either appoint with that company, or you join an organization, whether it be an IMO, whether it be a corporate organization, you're going to find someone in that company or in that organization that has accomplished what you want to accomplish. And 9 times out of 10, like you said, if you ask and they can tell that, you're serious about wanting some assistance, you're going to get that mentorship. So I think that this is an industry where mentorship at certain levels, definitely the level that's going to allow you to sustain, is very accessible. Right. It's very accessible. Now I think there needs to be more of it.
Sure.
I think that there needs to be more on both ends, more people who are vested in offering and being available as mentors, and, more people who are actually seeking for it, because we sometimes, we find ourselves in places and where, we don't ask for help when we should, but I think, look, from a low-lying fruit perspective, and being able to find some guidance and development, if you don't have, let's say you don't have parents that you can look at, you don't have, you never had that school teacher. Sometimes you have that one school teacher, or that one college professor, or, or that uncle or aunt or friend, your parents knew somebody who was a successful business person, whatever it is.
Right.
You join this industry, you're going to find somebody.
You're going to find somebody, and I want to take the statement about NAIA I mentioned earlier. When I was in Minneapolis, that was for the year-long training program that once you got placed in your field office or in your market office, which was Greenbelt, Maryland for me, and I met Mark and a number of other folks. Mark Walters is still a dear friend of mine. He's been in the industry forever. You're right. You're going to find those guys, and they might find you. They might be looking to give you, let me tell you about this industry, man. Don't worry about the stack of pre-licensing education you got to do. Don't worry about the corporate ethics program that you got to do to stay employed here. We'll worry about that. But let's talk about your career trajectory. You'll recognize who's excited and who has an open door for you to be a mentor. But I remember hearing about NAIA when I got to DC, and meeting Amir Ali and meeting Joe and Janice Davis, and then of course meeting thousands of other folks that looked like me or were in the same industry that didn't look like me, and they were so happy to share their secrets of success. And maybe not a long-term mentorship program necessarily, and I think that's what people may think or may take away, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just a mentor for a specific area of the industry or a specific question that you can go to. You can pick up the phone anytime. I can call somebody that I haven't called in a year and will pick up right where we left off in the conversation, because they do it for 1,000 agents, right? They do it for so many people because they've been in the industry for 50 years, and that becomes part of their day-to-day, is just being a good mentor. And you will find people like that, but you have to look for them as well. And you have to understand, again, the importance of having mentors that is directly tied to the success I've been blessed to have in this industry. Yes, I work hard. Yes, I put in my every effort. I've educated myself. I've done all the things that a successful producer and an agent would want to do, but I didn't do anything. I had the privilege of having the mentors that I've had throughout my career, and I try my hardest to balance the responsibilities I have as a broker and as an employee of the company I work for, and being there for my mentees as I start to develop more years and more experiences. I want to share that. With folks who were in my position, right? Like, they didn't know what they didn't know, and then they found out because they have a mentor now in me to some capacity. So I feel it's important to pay that back, not necessarily to the industry, but the folks who have absolutely no idea the ceiling that doesn't exist in this industry for them, because that's a typical reality for almost every other job. It is not once you have that license in your hand. There is no ceiling. Literally, the sky's the limit, to add some corniness to this interview, but it is a cliche for a reason, because it's true.
Absolutely, man. As we start to, kind of round the corner to the end of our conversation, I wanted to ask, is that drive now for being the resource, being the arm, the voice, kind of the helping hand, is that a part of what motivates you now? If that's not primary motivation, like, what keeps you motivated in this business after 15 years?
Yes, to answer your question directly, absolutely. I get joy out of earning BORs. I mean, that's my job, and I love to win. I have had a lot of success, and not that it gets old, but you have a certain understanding of how to be successful in this industry after you have X amount of years and experience, and you understand where you fit in this ecosystem in terms of your specialty, in terms of what you're good at, right? So you would expect success year over year, as well as if you work for a company like I do, they expect the same thing, because that is, you're not going to go backwards in this industry. This industry, the more time you spend, the more knowledge you obtain, the more successful you are likely to be. That's generally the formula. What is so much cooler than getting another BOR is watching somebody who listened to me for an hour, a week over a year's time, took what I said, applied it to their business strategy, and got their first win. Man, I was talking about, such and such producer, like, he's got like 80 or 90 people that he calls. It's just a matter of time. He's getting frustrated and burnt out. And then I gave him this key piece of advice that I didn't even know was that important until he called me like 4 months later and told me that he's so busy writing business because of the thing that I told him that, that last time that we talked. That lights up my life to an extent that I can't describe professionally, of course. And personally, you have children. I'm about to have my second kid. So there's no, there's no rhyme or reason that your family shouldn't be, a core motivational factor. But being a mentor and watching you take the advice that you got from your mentor, recycle it, and make it specific to the mentee that is now looking to you for a successful career trajectory is something special. I can't put into words. So absolutely. That's how I stay motivated after 15 plus years here.
I love it, man, and congratulations, on the
Thank you.
new one that I know is coming at any second. It can come. We could stop this. We can come.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta go check. I don't know. Just check and see if I need to get in the car.
Right. So I want to ask, man, at this point in your life, at this point in your career, what's the dream now? Like, what's the long-term vision for Adam Woodford?
No, absolutely. Agency ownership. I don't see myself retiring because I genuinely enjoy what I do. And obviously you can do this anywhere in the world. I remember sending a response to a client on a Southwest flight on my way to vacation because you can buy internet now on the plane, or you have Wi-Fi access.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of the Worldwide Broker Network. So we I can broker deals internationally. That's fun. So if I can, establish myself to a point where I feel comfortable in my career in corporate America, working for a fantastic organization like Steve is, and to the point where I will retire from corporate America, the next part of my lifelong journey in this industry is having my own insurance agency. But more importantly, a part of that agency will be a school, if you will, an educational arm to attract, educate young folks, old folks, people in the middle about the industry, provide free financial literacy. And I really don't like that term literacy, but financial management skills courses, and make it more accessible so that people who feel like we're just in a rat race and there's no alternative to the careers that have been pushed upon them, and to the go to college, get a job, get married, retire from your job, live off of your retirement income. Chances are, if you have the turn that we had, if you have the realization that we had, and you're that individual looking for the answer, you'll be selling that retirement plan to a company and enjoying the commission dollars. And you'll want to do that again because, again, winning is fun. And I want to share that with as many people as possible. And that would be, in a nutshell, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. I don't know, but I don't need to, because I think that, again, getting my license and really actualizing the things that are possible with it has been one of the biggest joys of my life, and I don't really see it ending. I just see it evolving into the next thing.
Absolutely, man. I love the idea of the school. I know that we're collaborating on a few different things now, and
you'll know all about it. We talk all the time. You'll know all about it. You'll probably be an investor or something like that. We'll make it work, and actually looking forward to collaborating. You know what I mean? I said it before off the top, but it's now a thing. I say it all the time. Aggregation for collaboration. Aggregation.
That you coined it, man. You coined it. Aggregation for collaboration.
When we do things together, we do it better. We do it faster. We do it stronger. And I think that we can really, really create a completely different life trajectory by putting this information in communities and groups of people that don't even know that this career opportunity exists.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell someone? Final statement.
Sure.
What would you tell someone who is thinking about either joining the industry? Maybe they just joined the industry. They might be having a tough, first year. Which might be common in some cases, right? But or maybe they are, maybe they're in a career transition where this is, something that's in front of them, and maybe they're on the fence about, getting in this business or really taking it seriously. What kind of closing words would you have for that person?
I would say never give up. I know it sounds, again, cliche and kind of boring, but you really want to turn on the after boosters when you're having a bad year, you're having a bad time, because out of sight, out of mind has never been truer in the insurance industry. You have to stay present. It is tough. I read so many, I listen to a lot of podcasts like yours, but I listen to a lot of books that are motivational. I listen to a lot of sales strategy. So if what I'm doing isn't working, if what you're doing isn't working, you always have the option of trying something different in the same industry with the same license. You don't have to stay in that. There is no wrong move. And you may be good at what you're doing now, but explore the industry and see what opportunities are out there for you to pursue that aren't what you're doing now. And you might actually discover something that you're better at and have more fun at. And so everybody has bad years. Everybody has bad times. I had a bad year, but it was more personal than anything. And I remember thinking about just doing something completely different. And that's when I transitioned away from the carrier world to the TPA market, which then led me to realize, I'm actually good at brokering deals. And then that's when I was like, I'm going to be a broker, and I'm going to be really good at it, because I know exactly how I can take the skills that I've learned over these years in the industry and apply them to something new. It's a completely different job, but it was exciting. I learned a lot, and thankfully it was the right choice in terms of the success and fun and all the people I'm meeting in the industry. But again, that's what I would say. If you're having a tough time, just don't give up. Start to broaden your mind. Don't stay single tracked at all. To get more licenses. Like I didn't have a bad time to get my PNC license. I just wanted to evolve my skill set. But that might be the answer for someone that has their EB license and they're not having the success that they had planned or hoped to have. Get into the PNC market. You're still in the same industry overall, but you just have another skill set, another knowledge base that a number of people don't, and they have businesses and could use your help. And if you are, in the individual market and having a tough time, think about becoming a group rep. Think about working for a company. So there's so many different paths you could take in this industry. I'm not going to say there's no such thing as a tough time. Obviously, you have to insulate yourself against bad economic times. And the way to do that is just to diversify your mindset to know that there's always an opportunity for you to do something that is going to make money, and it's in a completely different skill set. So there's a multitude of things that we haven't done, you and I haven't done in this industry, that that person who's having a tough time may want to think about pursuing. So don't give up, keep your head up. All the motivational stuff that works, man. Therapy, by the way, I rock with it. It took me 36 years to get into therapy, but I love it. And it has absolutely made a big difference. So regardless if you're having a good or bad time, but especially if you don't know what to do and you don't know who to talk to, I think just reflecting on yourself with a therapy session or several would be a good move as well. So
absolutely, man. That's great advice. Great advice and guidance there. So what if they want to reach out to you? You don't have to give out your full math, but if somebody wants to communicate with Adam Woodford, or they're in the DC area, they want to find out about Naya, or they want to find out about being a benefits broker, or what that's all about. Because once again, when I got into the industry 10 years ago, I didn't even know that existed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, networking is key. So you can call me directly. My number is 202-494-9963. As you can text or call me. I'm on LinkedIn. It's really easy to find me. I'm a very, very social person. I'm at the gathering spot in DC almost all the time. Now, obviously, I'm at home waiting on this baby boy, but you can get in touch with me using that cell phone number via text, email. It's adam.woodford@cbiz.com. Please reach out to me. I love having a discussion about this insanely underrated but incredibly great opportunity in the insurance industry. I encourage you to get your license, even if you're unsure about it. It's something that I know Mr. Powell is incredibly passionate about, and I got to step back and say you're doing an incredible job doing what I will do a better job of, which is promote the opportunity that comes with getting your license.
Hey, thank you very much, Adam, man. Hey, I appreciate you. And, all feelings and compliments are mutual. For those who have heard this conversation and understand that this is the industry that creates the foundation and platform and is the aggregation for collaboration, as Mr. Adam Woodford has coined. Maybe you heard something, that did inform you, something that did educate you, something that did inspire you, and something that made you think to yourself, you should get a license. Until the next time, thank you and take care.